The deeper meaning of Dune, more than just desert and sandworms. Control of spice is control over everything. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Jaxom Talks channel. Today, we're not just exploring a story. We're delving into a universe of desert planets, political intrigue, giants and worms, and a spice that holds the fate of all humanity in its grasp. We're talking about Frank Herbert's masterpiece, Dune. Now, if you've seen the recent films, you've experienced the grandeur and scale of this world. But what lies beneath the surface? What is the real message Frank Herbert was trying to convey? Because I can tell you, Dune is far more than a space opera. It's a profound, complex, and cautionary tale about power, religion, and the very nature of humanity. We're going to break down the underlying message of the Dune series. We'll explore the main power players that shape this universe, unravel the geopolitical landscape, and uncover the timeless warnings that Herbert wove into his epic. This isn't just about what happens in the story. It's about what the story is trying to tell us about ourselves. Let's dive in. To understand Dune's message, you first have to understand its universe. It's a vast feudal empire, a galactic game of chess where every move has 1,000 consequences. The three main pillars of power maintain a delicate, and often brutal, balance. The first pillar, the Imperium. At the top of the food chain is the Podesha Emperor, Shaddam IV. He rules over the known universe, the Imperium, with an iron fist. But his power isn't absolute, it's a balance of threats. His primary military force is the Sardaukar, an elite army of fanatical soldiers trained on the brutal prison planet of Seleucia Secundus. They are said to be invincible. The Emperor uses them to enforce his will, but he knows he can rule alone. The second pillar, the Landsraad. This is the assembly of the great houses, the powerful noble families. The Landsraad acts as a check on the Emperor's power. If the Emperor acts against a single house, the other houses will unite against him. This dynamic ensures that no single power, not even the Emperor, can act with complete impunity. It's a very feudal system, with an endless web of alliances, feuds, and betrayals. The Landsraad is the arena where all the plots are born and battles are fought. The third pillar, the Spacing Guild. This is the most unique and arguably most powerful faction. The Spacing Guild has a complete monopoly on interstellar travel. They use a special class of navigators, humans mutated by massive exposure to the spice, to fold space and instantly travel between star systems. Without the Guild, the Imperium would fall apart. The Emperor needs them to move his Sardaukar, and the Landsraad needs them for trade and to move their armies. This monopoly on space travel gives them immense yet quiet power. They don't engage in open warfare, but they can bring the entire universe to its knees simply by refusing to provide transport. The wild card, the Bene Gesserit. While not an official pillar of political power, the Bene Gesserit are arguably the most influential force in the universe. They are a powerful, secretive matriarchal order with a long-term plan for humanity. They use subtle manipulation, political marriages, and a breeding program spanning thousands of years. Their plan is to produce a super being, the Kwisatz Haderach, who would have prescience and access to all ancestral memories. They are the puppet masters, playing a game 1,000 years in the making, but always from the shadows. These are the players in the game, but what is the prize? The entire galactic economy, and thus all of its politics, hinges on one thing: melange, or the spice. The spice is a miraculous substance found only on the desert planet of Arrakis, also known as Dune. It prolongs life, enhances consciousness, and is essential for the Spacing Guild's navigators. The saying within the book is, "He who controls the spice, controls the universe." This central premise in the book is a thinly veiled metaphor for our own world's dependence on a crucial resource, oil. Herbert, writing in the 1960s, was deeply concerned about humanity's reliance on fossil fuels and the geopolitical conflicts they create. The Scramble for Arrakis is a cautionary tale about resource dependency, political corruption, and the lengths people will go to for wealth and power. But the use of spice isn't just a metaphor for oil, it's also a commentary on our relationship with the environment. Arrakis is a harsh, beautiful, and fragile ecosystem. It's home to the giants and worms, the creators of the spice, and the native freeman people who have adapted to its extreme conditions. The Imperium comes to Arrakis to exploit it and harvest the spice, showing no regard for the native population or the environmental consequences of their actions. Herbert is telling us that our hubris, our desire to dominate and exploit nature for a single resource, will eventually lead to our downfall. The freemen, who have a deep spiritual connection to the planet, are the only ones who truly understand it. They are the silent force, the ones who hold the true power of the desert. Now we get to the core of Dune's most important, and most often misunderstood, message. Paul Atreides is pushed into a messiah figure role. He's the product of the Bene Gesserit's breeding program, a chosen one with immense power, including the ability to see into the future. He arrives on Arrakis, is adopted by the native freemen who are awaiting a messiah through legends, and eventually leads them in a holy war, or jihad, against the Imperium. On the surface, it looks like a classic hero's journey, but Frank Herbert was actually writing an anti-hero's story. He was deeply skeptical of charismatic leaders and the worship of chosen ones. Herbert saw them as a grave danger to society. Paul's prescience shows him the terrible future that is ahead of him and the bloody holy war that will kill billions, but he feels powerless to stop it. He's trapped by the momentum of a religious fervor he created and can no longer control. This is Herbert's most potent warning: beware of charismatic leaders who promise to save you. He shows how a messiah figure, even one with good intentions, can become a tool for fanaticism and violence. The people, desperate for a savior, will follow them blindly into a dark and bloody future. Paul is maneuvered into a position where he becomes a prisoner of his own myth. His prescience allows him to see the terrible consequences, but his power is not a blessing. It's a curse that locks him into a tragic path. Herbert is challenging the very idea of a hero. He argues that relying on one single individual to solve all our problems is a deeply flawed and dangerous idea. It allows us to give up responsibility and surrender our freedom of thought to a single voice. So, what is the ultimate message of Dune? It's not a single, simple answer, but a complex tapestry of warnings. Political manipulation and power corrupts. The game of houses, the Spacing Guild's monopoly, and the Bene Gesserit's manipulation all show how power, when consolidated, leads to exploitation and stagnation. Herbert's greatest fear was the rise of a charismatic leader who would lead the masses into violence and fanaticism. He's telling us to be our own heroes and to question authority. Environmentalism and resource management. Dune is a powerful ecological fable. It warns of the dangers of exploiting a fragile environment over a single resource and shows how a people connected to their land can be a more powerful force than any military. The nature of change. The freemen, once a marginalized people, become a force of nature. This shows that true change comes from the ground up, not from the top down. Frank Herbert's Dune is a timeless work of science fiction because it's so much more than that. It's a mirror reflecting our own world's struggles with politics, religion, technology, and the environment. It's a masterpiece that doesn't offer easy answers, but forces us to ask difficult questions. It warns us to be vigilant, to think for ourselves, and to never blindly trust a chosen one to lead us to salvation. Thank you for joining me on this quick trip into the desert world of Dune. I hope it gives you a new perspective on this incredible story. What do you think is the most important message from Dune? Do you agree with Herbert's warnings about charismatic leaders? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Jaxom Talks, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next upload. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.